22 hours. Vice President J.D. Vance just spent 22 hours in the most important American-Iranian meeting since 1979, the highest level face-to-face talks in 47 years. And he left Islamabad Sunday morning with absolutely nothing. Iran said no, not to one demand, not to two. Iran rejected all three American demands at the same time. The Strait of Hormuz stays closed, 900 pounds of uranium stays inside Iran, and the frozen money stays frozen. 22 hours of historic diplomacy, zero result, and the ceasefire expires in 9 days. What happens after that has no playbook in Washington. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what Iran refused and why, what America demanded and why Iran said no, why Trump is furious, and what his three options are when April 21st arrives. Stay with me. Every minute of this video matters. Welcome back to War Room Economics. Hit subscribe right now and drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from. We read every single one. Now let me show you what actually happened in that room in Islamabad. Before I show you the demands, I need to tell you something that every headline is missing. Both sides left Islamabad thanking Pakistan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir worked for months to bring America and Iran to the same table. Both delegations acknowledged that publicly. But here's the thing about thanking your host. It does not change the result. And the result was total collapse on every single issue. Pakistan achieved something remarkable. Getting America and Iran into the same room for the first time since 1979 required months of quiet diplomacy by Prime Minister Sharif and Field Marshal Munir. J.D. Vance and Iran's Parliament Speaker Ghalibaf shook hands in the same room. They sat across from each other. They talked for 22 consecutive hours. Both sides expressed genuine appreciation for Pakistan's role, and then both sides went home with nothing. Because getting two sides to the table and getting two sides to agree are two entirely different things. The New York Times confirmed Vance's departure, citing two senior Iranian officials familiar with the negotiations. The BBC confirmed Iran's foreign ministry called American demands excessive and unlawful. Al Jazeera confirmed Iran's core positions on Hormuz, nuclear rights, and war reparations as the three issues that prevented any agreement. Three independent news organizations. Same result. Now let me show you exactly what those three issues were and why neither side could move. Most people think negotiations fail because of misunderstandings or bad communication. What happened in Islamabad was different. These were not misunderstandings. These were two sides who understood each other perfectly. And what they understood is that they want completely opposite things. Here are the exact demands that killed 22 hours of historic talks. Iran came to Islamabad with three demands. America rejected every single one. Iran's demand one: release $27 billion in frozen oil revenues held across 7 countries: Iraq, Luxembourg, Bahrain, Japan, Qatar, Turkey, and Germany. That money belongs to Iran and was frozen under sanctions. Iran wants it back immediately. America's answer: no. The frozen assets stay frozen until Iran demonstrates compliance on nuclear and military issues. Iran's demand two: pay war reparations for 6 weeks of American and Israeli airstrikes that targeted thousands of facilities across Iranian territory. Iran wants financial compensation for the damage done to its infrastructure, its military, and its civilian facilities. America's answer: no. America does not pay reparations to a country it considers responsible for starting this conflict. Iran's demand three: full withdrawal of all American military forces from bases across the Middle East region. Iran wants American military presence reduced across the entire region as part of any permanent settlement. America's answer: absolutely not. American military presence in the region is not on the table under any circumstances. Three demands, three immediate rejections. And Iran's position on all three was publicly stated and non-negotiable. Now let me show you what America put on the table and why Iran walked away from every point just as fast. America's demands were equally firm. And when you hear all three of them side by side, you will understand immediately why 22 hours of talks produced nothing. Because these are not positions with flexibility built in. These are red lines both sides drew publicly before they even arrived in Islamabad. America came to Islamabad with three demands of its own. Iran rejected every single one. America's demand one: reopen the Strait of Hormuz immediately and unconditionally to all commercial shipping. No conditions, no timeline. Open it now. Iran's answer: no. The strait reopens only after a comprehensive final peace deal addresses every Iranian demand. Not before, not partially. America's demand two: transfer or sell Iran's entire stockpile of approximately 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium. That uranium sits at 89% enrichment right now. Weapons grade is 90%. 1 percentage point away from nuclear weapons material. America wants that stockpile out of Iran completely. Iran's answer: no. The nuclear program is Iran's sovereign right, and the uranium stays. Iran made a counterproposal. The sides could not bridge the gap. America's demand, 3. Iran must stop supporting proxy forces across Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and Iraq immediately and verifiably. America wants Iran's regional military network dismantled as part of any deal. Iran's answer, no. Iran's regional relationships are not subject to American conditions. 3 American demands, 3 Iranian rejections. The New York Times called these incompatible visions of what surrender looks like. And that description is exactly right. Iran does not intend to surrender, and neither does America. But of everything that collapsed in Islamabad, one issue sits at the absolute center of this entire war: the Strait of Hormuz. And the reason Iran will never voluntarily give it up is not stubbornness. It is cold strategic logic. Let me show you exactly why. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide at its narrowest point. 20% of all global oil consumption passes through it every single day. 17 million barrels every single day. One waterway, one country controlling it. Here's the strategic logic Iran is operating on. The moment oil flows freely through Hormuz, Washington's incentive to make concessions to Iran disappears completely. Energy prices stabilize. Political pressure on Trump eases. Market panic subsides. The urgency that drove America to Islamabad in the first place evaporates. Iran watched the 2-week ceasefire carefully. American destroyers immediately moved to assert control of the waterway. Washington started acting as if the strait was already open. Iran saw that and understood the lesson. Hormuz is the only leverage that survived 38 days and 13,000 American airstrikes. You cannot bomb mines out of the water. You cannot simultaneously eliminate every anti-ship missile battery across 1,600 kilometers of Iranian coastline. Iran's leverage does not require a single building still standing. It requires mines already in the water and missiles already on the coast. That leverage survived everything America threw at Iran, and Iran is not trading it for promises. And while those negotiations were collapsing inside the Serena Hotel in Islamabad, something else was happening simultaneously inside the strait itself. Something that tells you everything about how real the conflict over Hormuz remains, even during a ceasefire. CENTCOM confirmed it publicly. Here's what happened. U.S. Central Command announced that destroyers USS Frank E. Peterson Jr. and USS Michael Murphy entered the Strait of Hormuz during the actual negotiations. Mine clearing operations was the stated reason. Iran immediately denied through military spokesperson Ibrahim Zulfagari that any such operation occurred. According to Iran's FR's news agency, cited by the New York Times, multiple U.S. officials confirmed the destroyers did enter briefly before turning back. One of those destroyers shot down an Iranian surveillance drone that approached the ship during the operation. Read that sequence carefully. During a ceasefire, during active peace negotiations happening in the same hours. American warships entered the disputed waterway, shot down an Iranian drone, then turned back. Iran said it never happened. America confirmed it did. 2 sides, 1 waterway. Completely incompatible accounts of who controls it. The contradiction tells you everything about why 22 hours of historic talks produced nothing. The war over the Strait of Hormuz did not pause for the negotiations. It continued underneath them. Now, let me give you the hard numbers, because these specific figures explain why this war has produced such an unexpected result, and why the country that fired the most weapons ended up with the least leverage. These numbers are not commentary. They are the calculations keeping American military planners awake right now. The Hormuz math. 21 miles wide, 20% of global oil, 17 million barrels daily. One country controlling it, the destruction math. American airstrikes hit 13,000 Iranian targets over 38 days of bombardment. Iranian infrastructure is significantly damaged. Iranian military capabilities degraded. And yet Iran still controls the Strait of Hormuz and still refuses to open it. 13,000 targets destroyed. 0 Iranian concessions on the strait. The uranium math? 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium inside Iran right now. Enrichment level 89%. Weapons grade is 90%. 1 percentage point separates Iran's current stockpile from nuclear weapons material. That stockpile remains inside Iran as of this morning. The economic math. Insurance premiums for vessels entering the Persian Gulf up 400% since this conflict began. American inflation running at 3.3%, the highest in 2 years. Energy costs feeding through transportation, manufacturing, food, heating, every sector, every household. Your energy bill, your grocery bill, your petrol costs, all connected to that 21-mile waterway. The leverage math. Iran's most powerful remaining weapon costs nothing additional to maintain. The mines are already in the water. The missiles are already on the coast. America spent billions destroying Iranian targets. Iran's leverage survived every dollar of it. While Vance spent 22 consecutive hours negotiating in Islamabad, President Trump was at UFC 327 in Miami watching fights. That is what the New York Times reported. When Trump spoke to reporters, he said, "Whether a deal is reached makes no difference to me. We win regardless." He said, "We have defeated them militarily. That framing works domestically only if Iran is visibly defeated. Iran is not acting defeated. Iran is dictating terms on the one issue that matters most to the global economy. And Trump's anger at the result is visible. He returned to threatening language about the Strait of Hormuz, statements suggesting military options remain on the table, language about not allowing Iran to hold the world economy hostage. But here is Trump's problem. His threats require Iran to believe America will pay the economic price of escalation. With inflation at 3.3% and energy bills rising for every American family, that threat becomes harder to execute politically with each passing day. Trump needs a win he can show to voters. Iran just made certain that win does not come easily or cheaply. So, with the ceasefire expiring April 21st and 9 days left on the clock, let me show you the three paths available to Trump right now. Because one of them involves a risk so dangerous that even American military planners are reluctant to discuss it openly, and none of them give Trump what he actually needs. Path 1. Resume major military strikes, strike harder, expand targets, force Iranian capitulation through overwhelming force. The problem: you cannot bomb mines out of the Strait of Hormuz. You cannot simultaneously destroy every anti-ship missile battery across 1,600 kilometers of coastline in a single operation. Oil immediately spikes past $150 per barrel. American gasoline prices jump before any political benefit materializes. Iran still controls the strait. Verdict: wins the military battle, loses the economic war. Path 2. Accept open-ended negotiations with no timeline. Keep talking. Extend the ceasefire. Avoid the costs of resumed escalation. The problem: Trump's entire political brand is built on decisive victory. His base views extended negotiations as weakness and surrender. Every day the strait stays closed costs the global economy billions and costs American families at the pump. Verdict: preserves the ceasefire, destroys Trump's political positioning, solves nothing. Path 3. Directly target Iran's coastal defense systems and mine clearing by force. Eliminate the missile batteries, force the strait open through direct military action. The hidden risk: Russian military advisors may be embedded in those coastal defense systems. One Russian casualty changes every calculation instantly. That is not a tactical problem. That is a direct US-Russia confrontation. Verdict: highest potential upside, highest existential risk, one mistake away from a completely different war. None of these three paths give Trump cheap oil and a victory speech. That is the corner Iran just backed Washington into with 9 days left on the clock. Let me bring this together. 22 hours. The most important American-Iranian meeting in 47 years. Both sides thanked Pakistan's Prime Minister, Sharif, and Field Marshal Munir for the remarkable work of bringing them to the table. And then both sides went home with nothing. Iran rejected America's three demands completely. America rejected Iran's three demands completely. The Strait of Hormuz stays closed. 900 pounds of uranium at 89% stays inside Iran. 27 billion in frozen assets stays frozen. The ceasefire expires April 21st, 9 days. Trump has three options: resume strikes that cannot force open the strait, accept endless negotiations that destroy his political standing, or target coastal defenses and risk Russian military personnel. None of them deliver what he needs. Iran walked away from Islamabad with its leverage completely intact. The only leverage that survived 13,000 American airstrikes, 21 miles of water, more powerful than everything America spent 38 days destroying. We do not know what Trump decides when April 21st arrives. We do not know if that date passes quietly or violently. But when it arrives, you will understand exactly why it matters before the headlines explain it. What do you think? Does Trump resume military operations after April 21st, or does he accept a negotiation he cannot control? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Subscribe to War Room Economics for every update as the 9-day countdown runs out. I will see you in the next one.